Today, we're diving into the architecture of education itself, curriculum design. We're going to find out how the most amazing learning experiences are actually built, and it all starts with a really solid blueprint.
So let's just start with a big question, right? Think back for a second. What's the most memorable class you've ever taken? What made it stand out? Was it the energy in the room, the incredible clarity, or maybe that aha moment when everything suddenly just clicked?
Well, here's the secret. It's not some kind of magic. That feeling of real engagement where everything makes sense. It comes from a deliberate, super thoughtful process. It's all about the design, the blueprint behind the scenes.
So what is curriculum design, really? Think of it as the strategic foundation for all effective education. It's just like an architect's blueprint for a building. It lays out what's going to be taught, why it's so important, and how all the pieces are going to come together to build something strong and meaningful. Okay, so let's start our builder's journey. The very first thing any good architect does is understand the entire process from start to finish. And for us, that means mapping out the stages of curriculum design. And here it is, this is our roadmap. These 6 stages show us the logical flow, from figuring out who our learners even are, all the way to checking our work and making it even better next time. We're actually going to follow this exact path through our whole explainer. All right, let's get to building. So, stage 1 is the needs assessment. Now, before a builder lays even a single brick, they have to understand the ground they're building on. For us, that ground is our learners. And this really shows you just how critical that foundation is. It's about so much more than just what a student already knows. For instance, say you're teaching photosynthesis. Knowing your students have different learning styles means you might use a cool diagram for visual learners, a hands-on experiment for those who learn by doing, and a group discussion for the auditory learners. A curriculum built on that kind of deep understanding, well, that's one that's truly built to last.
So, with our foundation set, we can move into the architectural phase. This is where we start framing the whole structure by defining our goals and, this is key, our objectives. It's where the vision really starts to take shape.
Now, the difference between goals and objectives is huge. A goal is the big picture, right? The broad vision, like understanding ecosystems. But an objective, that's a specific, measurable target, like identifying the key components of an ecosystem. It's that shift from just a wish to a concrete, actionable step on our blueprint. And how do we make sure those objectives are truly actionable? Simple. We make them SMART. This framework makes sure every single objective is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. This is what turns our blueprint from a rough sketch into a precise, professional plan that actually works. Okay, our framework is in place. Now it's time to choose our tools. A builder doesn't use a hammer for every single job, do they? In education, our tools are our instructional strategies, the how of teaching. A really great curriculum designer has a balanced toolkit. You've got direct instruction for laying down the fundamentals. You've got collaborative learning for teamwork skills. You have inquiry and project-based learning for tackling real-world problems. And, of course, discussions to really dig into complex ideas. You'd never use a lecture to teach teamwork. You'd use a group project. It's all about using the right tool for the right job. So why is all this variety so important? Because the goal here is to create an active, dynamic experience. When we mix up our strategies, we move away from a one-way monologue and create a space for real engagement, critical thinking, and much, much deeper learning. Of course, any good builder is constantly measuring their work to make sure everything's level and on track. Well, in curriculum design, that's our assessment phase. It's basically our quality control inspection. And there are 2 main types of measurement. Formative assessment is like the check-in during construction. Quick quizzes or class discussions to see if things are going according to plan. Then, summative assessment is the final inspection, the big exam or project that checks out the finished product. And you absolutely need both to ensure quality build. And like Dr. Sabuj Ahmed says here, this is all about creating a feedback loop. Assessment isn't just about handing out grades. It's about gathering data so we can improve our blueprint for the next build. It makes the whole design process dynamic and always getting better. All right, we've pretty much covered the entire construction site, from laying the foundation all the way to that final inspection. So let's do a quick recap of the essential points from our builder's journey. So first, always think like an architect. Start with a plan. Second, know your learner. so you can build on a solid foundation. Use those SMART objectives to create a clear, sturdy framework. Make sure you have a balanced toolkit of teaching strategies. And finally, assess your work constantly, not just to grade, but to improve.
So now you have the architect's tools and the builder's mindset. The only question left is this: what's the very first brick you're going to lay in designing your own incredible learning experiences? Thanks for joining me on this explainer.